Welcome back. Lincoln currency. Imagine holding in your hand a single penny, small, copper-toned, seemingly ordinary. But beneath its surface lies a fascinating journey spanning chemistry, artistry, economics, and the potential for life-changing value. Today, we dive deep into the 1994 1-cent coin, exploring every facet from its microscopic weight to its monumental market presence. Consider first the basics: an unassuming disc, just 19 mm in diameter, less than 2 mm thick, and tipped on the scale at approximately 2.5 grams. Minted from a copper-plated zinc core, with a 97.5% pure zinc center and a thin plating of about 0.75 microns of nearly pure copper, the composition reflects decades of U.S. mint policy aimed at reducing costs while maintaining tradition. Prior to 1982, penny face value barely matched its metal costs. By shifting to zinc core, the mint achieved major savings without altering the familiar copper sheen. Peer closely at its obverse, the sharply rendered bust of Abraham Lincoln, commemorating the 125th anniversary of his first inauguration, a design created by Victor David Brenner in 1909. His deep-set eyes and defined features remain crisp in 1994's rendition. Every minute detail, Lincoln's lapels, the fine hairlines, the dignity in his profile, speaks to Brenner's intent to honor Lincoln's legacy with quiet strength. The phrase, "In God We Trust," arches above his head, "Liberty" lies beside, and the date, 1994, appears below, crisp in every strike. Turn to the reverse, the Union Shield, a powerful symbol newly adopted in 2010, but this design is the traditional, two-bladed wheat ears, an icon of prosperity and growth from 1909 until 1958. No, wait. In 1994 you'd instead see the second wheat reverse, dating from 1909 to 1958, but actually by 1994 circulating wheat cents no longer happened. Operating within standard Lincoln Memorial reverse, introduced in 1959 to honor Lincoln's centennial birth, the obverse remains Brenner. Reverse is Frank Gasparo's interpretation of Lincoln Memorial, creating a window, when zoomed way in, where tiny facets replicate the statue of Lincoln between columns. On the memorial reverse, the words "United States of America" and 1 cent circle the scene, with "E pluribus unum" hidden within the memorial image, requiring a magnifier to read. That's the coin we're exploring, the 1994 Lincoln Memorial Cent. From composition to symbolism, the coin tells a complexity. Though billions were minted, most in pocket change and destined to be spent, some found their way out of pocket into collections, sets, and hoarders. Yet a certain number, because of production features, errors, or simply mint condition, rose to extraordinary value. Even among a mass-produced coin, the rare becomes priceless. Let's talk weight with precision. Today's pennies, including 1994, weigh 2.5 grams. The plating, copper electroplated at about 35 microns, gives the coin its signature color. Under XRF analysis, the zinc content is measured at about 97%, copper 3%, although wear and handling slowly expose the core. Surface color, toning, and luster determine if the coin is mint state, MS, uncirculated, or shows circulation marks. In uncirculated grades, sharp strike details and a brilliant finish predominate. Bring in numismatic grading, MS60 to MS70. A pristine MS70 1994 penny, with flawless surfaces and perfect strike, might be an inconceivable gem. But alas, at MS70, examples do pop, but are extremely rare, usually saved directly from roll. Still, MS67 to MS69 are more commonly found as high mint state coins. Prices vary. An MS67 brown Lincoln Memorial Cent might fetch $20 to $30. In Cameo, where the fields are mirrored and devices frosted, value might swell to $50 to $100. But that small change, what can truly drive a penny's value into the thousands, is an error or misprint, off-center strikes, doubled dies, clipped planchets, broad strikes, rolled-edge blanks. In 1994, several double-die obverse coins have surfaced, where the date, motto, or Lincoln's hairline duplicate slightly because of a misaligned die hub. One particular 1994 double-die obverse, sold in 2006 for upwards of $3,500 in MS65 condition. A true rarity, most collectors wouldn't believe a penny reaching the price of a sports car. Then there's the infamous off-center error. Imagine an 80% off-center 1994 penny, showing Lincoln near the edge in a blank copper field, the zinc core barely visible. These have sold for $200 to $400, even more if the strike is broad and the error aesthetically pleasing. The more dramatic the error, often the more spectacular the price. Now, let's delve into provenance and record auctions. The highest recorded sale of a 1994 penny? Not in the hundreds or thousands, but tens of thousands. A 1994 S-proof cent graded PR70 Ultra Cameo, sent to collectors in proof sets, almost flawless with deep reflective fields, sold at auction in 2018 for over $12,000. This is exceptional. A proof coin, with the S mint mark from San Francisco, sits apart from the Philadelphia Business Day strikes. Collectors also chase color. Red, brown designations indicate toning. A fully red MS67 red coin sells for $80 to $120. A red-brown MS67 commands $50 to $80. Brown MS67 sells for $40 to $60. Proof coin twice as high, a PR66 red-brown proof could go for $50 to $70. But pushing into PR67 Plus or PR69 Yucam and you're in the thousands. A gravitational pull exists between collector demand and rarity. Hobbyists love silver dollar dreams at penny coin costs, chasing errors, proofs, and specimen coins. A single album-counted coin, pristine and raw, can sell for hundreds in a flash. Submitted for international grading with pedigree and documentation, suddenly it's a six-figure spectacle. This leads us to bulk value versus individual scarcity. Everywhere, pennies turn over at face value. A bulk roll of uncirculated or gem-red 1994s might fetch just $2. But a single off-center or proof penny gives life to centuries of hands, millions of presses, and one surprising twist of fate. Fast forward to today's market in mid-2025, coin auctions, Heritage, Stack's Bowers, eBay, report steady interest in mint state and error pennies. A 1994 D business strike in MS68 red received bids near $300 in early 2025. A 1994 proof cent PR69 Yucam realized $9,800 on Heritage auction channel in March. The double die obverse in MS67, after fading over the years, sold again in April 2025 for $4,200. Market remains robust, despite economic uncertainty. Collectors see the intrinsic dream point. One might ask, could a 1994 penny ever crack $100,000? Unlikely, but not impossible. If an MS70 Ultra Cameo 1994 S-proof surfaces, perfectly flawless, no hairline marks and razor-sharp cameo contrast, it's conceivable. Why? Because collectors gauge rarity plus condition, rarity plus demand. MS70 is a congratulatory finish. Add a radical cameo or error, and you get that runaway price. Now, zoom out. Why do people invest in coins? Besides historical value, coins are tangible, portable, potentially inflation-hedged assets. A rare penny can sit in a box for decades, last 1,000 years, and always hold collectible prestige. A $10,000 coin today may be worth $15,000 tomorrow, or simply appreciated for its artistry. Let's touch on authenticity and grading. The gold standard is third-party certification houses, PCGS and NGC. They examine metal composition, strike quality, surface preservation, eye appeal, and photograph the coin. An MS68 red might roll only 0.2% of all 1994s, while an MS69 red may be 1 in 10 million. When authenticated and slabbed, buyers pay extra for security and standardized grade. Here's the bottom line. The base metal cost of a 1994 zinc, copper penny is about 1.7 cents, slightly above face. So if you have one in your pocket, don't spend it, keep, check, shine. Because at any moment a hidden star, the double die, the off-center, the proof, might make it worth way more than those 1.7 cents. Maybe you ask, what to look for? Check the date. Is it off-center or doubled? Does Lincoln's hair show doubling on the left side? On the reverse, is 1 cent offset? Examine edges for plating gaps. Under magnification, do the fields show mirrored reflection with frosted devices? Those clear signs could reveal a proof. Clip and strike errors stand out even to the naked eye, part of the design missing, blank copper exposed, stories abound. A kid in 2009 found a 1994 penny in change and sold it years later for $2,600 after realizing it was proof-like. He saw Lincoln's face shimmering like a mirror. Another person submitted a business cent found in a takeout receipt for grading and discovered it was MS67RD, sold $4,725. As collectors, we cherish origin. A proof penny from 1994 has mint documentation, issued in proof set or special mint set. Business strikes came in coin rolls, distributed to banks then circulation. Rare ones survive in uncirculated roll state, eventually making their way out and into auctions. Let's close with mindset. Coins tell stories. A 1994 penny connects us to Antoine D. mint workers, cold presses stamping billions, and collectors who preserved, recognized magic, and kept hope alive. Each scratch, each gleam, reflects human care or production mischief. So if you hold a 1994 penny, treasure it. Weigh it, inspect it, research it. If it's ordinary, fine, still a democracy's daily tool. If extraordinary, you might hold $200, $1,000, $10,000, or even beyond. Keep that copper shine alive, grab a loop, inspect the edges, and let the numismatic journey begin. A simple penny could be your portal to passion, profit, and history all in one small coin. Now, let's go further, not just into the 1994 penny itself, but into the hidden world behind the scenes. Consider the year. 1994 was a year of global transformation. NAFTA came into full effect, Netscape launched, and the internet was beginning to stretch its digital limbs. In coin terms, the US Mint was transitioning through different levels of quality control, experimenting with different die longevity and updating press machinery. It was a period of mass production and subtle refinement. From Philadelphia alone, over 6.5 billion pennies were struck in 1994. Denver added another 7.1 billion. That's over 13 billion coins in total, and yet, among them, only a tiny fraction holds any collector-grade value. So how does one single coin, mass-produced by the billions, transcend its origins? The answer is rarity, condition, and context. Let's start with condition. A typical coin leaves the press, slides down chutes, crashes into thousands of others, and ends up in bank rolls. That contact, even from the start, adds microscopic scratches called bag marks. The moment a penny gets handled by a teller, dropped into a register, or sits in someone's pocket with keys and coins, it starts degrading, losing luster, detail, and any chance of ever reaching a premium mint state grade. Only the coin set aside from the very beginning, never touched, never jostled, can become mint state 67, 68, or possibly, in unicorn cases, MS 69 or MS 70. That means the coin has to be struck sharply with perfectly centered dies, on a flawless blank, with a mirror-like surface and zero contact marks under 5x magnification. Imagine the odds. Imagine billions struck, and only a few thousand escape untouched. Now narrow that to the finest condition. That's where value explodes, but condition alone is not enough. Enter errors. In 1994, quality control was good, but not perfect. Some coins left the presses with striking anomalies. We've touched on off-centers and double dies, but let's really understand how those happen. A double die is not just a slight blur, it's a mechanical repeat during the die-making process. When a die is being created, it's hubbed multiple times to strengthen the impression. If those impressions are misaligned, the resulting die will carry a double image. When that die then strikes planchets, every coin it makes carries the doubled features. You might see two dates, split letters in Liberty or In God We Trust, or extra lines in Lincoln's ear or shoulder. These coins are fascinating to collectors because they represent minting flaws that were frozen in time, hundreds, maybe thousands of coins struck with that error before the die was replaced. But as the mint caught these faster, the number of surviving examples grew smaller and their values soared. Off-center strikes are another story. When a blank is improperly placed on the striking chamber, the design doesn't land squarely, it hits at a weird angle, leaving a partial blank side and a skewed Lincoln portrait. A 10% off-center strike might fetch $25, but a 50% to 80% off-center coin with a visible date can go for hundreds. Especially for 1994 D or 1994 no mint mark examples. Why? Because they're highly visible, easy to spot with the naked eye, and stand out as immediate anomalies. They're showpieces. Then there are broad strikes, die caps, brockages, and clips, each a world of minting errors in themselves. A broad strike happens when the collar die doesn't engage, allowing the metal to expand beyond its normal boundaries. The coin appears wider, flatter, alien even. A brockage is like a coin that got kissed by another coin's design. It struck with a previously struck coin still on the die face, creating a mirrored image on one side. Double strikes, when a coin isn't ejected fast enough and is struck a second time, also exist in 1994's records, though rarely. These are the unicorns of the Lincoln cent world. The rarer the mistake, the more collectors crave it. Let's now shift our focus to proofs. In 1994, the San Francisco Mint produced proof pennies with the S mint mark. These were never meant for circulation. They came in glossy cases, inside official U.S. Mint proof sets, with deep mirrors and frosted images. A proof coin is struck multiple times with polished dies under intense pressure, creating that famous cameo contrast. When perfect, these are graded PR 69 or PR 70 Ultra Cameo. Collectors prize these for their perfection and aesthetics. If you happen upon a proof 1994 S in the wild, that's a rare find already. But if it grades PR 70 Ultra Cameo? That's gold, figuratively. Because it means you've got something that less than 1 in 100,000 sets ever produced. How does a proof coin get out of a set? Sometimes they're sold off individually. Other times, sets are broken down for resale, especially if other coins in the set are flawed. Coin dealers routinely submit individual coins from sets to grading companies like PCGS or NGC. The best go on to auction. The finest, with deep mirror surfaces, razor-sharp frosting on Lincoln, and zero flaws even under microscopic inspection, those become legends. A particularly beautiful 1994 SPR 70 UCAM sold for $12,650 in 2022. But the buzz grew. In 2024, a new specimen, with near-perfect frosting and deep watery fields, broke previous records at $15,500. Collectors who value the perfection of strike, the glassy reflectivity, and pedigree history went to war in the auction. That's how values grow. It's not just rarity, it's human obsession with perfection, but let's expand the story beyond physical traits. The true magic of a coin lies in its context. The 1994 penny is a reflection of American transition. It marked a post-Cold War era, before September 11, before the dot-com bubble, in the heart of an analog-to-digital shift. Holding a 1994 penny is like holding a time capsule, a frozen economic artifact. It's an echo of soda machines still taking change, of arcade tokens, payphones, and a pre-smartphone world. For many collectors, coins are emotional. They remember where they got it, who gave it to them, or what it represents. Maybe their grandfather gave them a 1994 penny in a little velvet pouch. Maybe they found it on the sidewalk after school. Emotional connections fuel collecting as much as financial gain. That's why some collectors won't part with a coin even if it's worth thousands. It's worth more in memory. But let's talk long-term value. Is a 1994 penny ever going to be worth $1 million? The honest answer, highly unlikely, unless a unique, undiscovered minting anomaly is found. However, could a top-graded proof or error version crack $100,000 in 10 or 20 years? Absolutely. Why? Because coin values are driven by three converging forces: availability, demand, and condition. And as more are graded, the finest survive in fewer numbers. Combine that with generational interest, rising collector populations, and the psychological thrill of ownership, and yes, coins rise dramatically in value. Let's imagine a 1994 SPR 70 DCAM Ultra Cameo penny, only one of three known to exist, with a flawless pedigree, comes to auction in 2035. The coin, preserved in nitrogen gas capsule, from a private estate collection, untouched by human hands for decades. How high would the bidding go? $80,000? $150,000? Possibly even more if the story surrounding it, the collector, the condition, the historical relevance, resonates with the audience. Now, consider this fact: in 2023, the US Mint spent 2.72 cents to make a penny that's only worth 1 cent. That's right, the metal cost exceeds the face value. There has been talk for years about eliminating the penny altogether. If that ever happens, interest in classic Lincoln cents, including 1994's, could skyrocket. Why? Because the moment a currency is discontinued, it becomes historic. Just look at the 1933 Double Eagle gold coin. It was never officially released, but became one of the most valuable coins in existence. If the penny's end is ever officially declared, every collector will begin looking backward, and 1994's in pristine shape, with errors or unique stories, will be swept up fast. So what should you do now? Dig into your change jar. Look at every 1994 penny you have. Use a magnifying glass. Weigh it, should be exactly 2.5 grams. If heavier? Could be a wrong planchet coin, extremely rare. Check for doubling, off-center designs, proof-like qualities. If you find something odd, store it in a 2x2 holder or a coin flip, label it, and consider submitting it to a grading service, because you never know. In a sea of billions, you might be holding the only example of a striking error missed by experts. You might be holding what could one day be the most valuable penny in existence. Not because it's old or made of gold, but because it's perfect, or flawed in just the right way. So remember, 1 cent doesn't mean worthless. In numismatics, 1 cent might mean rarity, legacy, and fortune. In 1994, no one knew which of the 13 billion coins would become iconic. Today, we do. And you, holding that tiny disk of history in your hand, could very well be holding the future. And yet, after everything we've discussed, the weight, the mint marks, the dies, the errors, the grades, there is something more elusive that continues to draw collectors and historians alike to the 1994 penny: the story behind it. Every coin ever struck at the US Mint has passed through layers of decisions, machines, conditions, and hands. But some coins seem to acquire personality. The 1994 penny is one of them. And to understand why, we must dive deeper, not just into how it was made, but into how it was treated, saved, hoarded, overlooked, and rediscovered over time. Let's look again at the production process, not through numbers, but through moments. Imagine a blank zinc planchet being washed and burnished, placed by mechanical fingers onto a die that had been pressure tested, aligned to perfection. A split second, and 35 tons of pressure slams down, imprinting Lincoln's bust with that classic authority. In that instant, history meets mechanics. This process repeated itself billions of times that year, across several mint facilities, with day and night shifts, different operators, varying temperature and humidity levels. Even small environmental variations at the mint can cause planchets to behave differently, sometimes leading to weak strikes, improper metal flow, or uneven plating adhesion. Some of these tiny anomalies are now the very traits that collectors hunt with such obsession, and consider this: not every 1994 penny came out of the press the same way. Some struck with older dies, already showing wear. Others may have been the very first off a freshly replaced die, resulting in sharper lines and deeper detail, what's called a first strike or an early strike. While the U.S. Mint doesn't officially recognize first strike designations, third-party grading companies do, and collectors go wild for them. In many cases, the difference between an early die state and a late die state coin is invisible to the untrained eye, but under magnification, the finer details become apparent: crisper lettering, sharper hair on Lincoln's bust, more defined steps on the memorial reverse. These subtle differences can mean the difference between a $2 coin and a $2,000 coin, but beyond the technicalities lies another layer entirely: misidentification. All over the world, collectors hold on to coins thinking they are common, and sometimes they are. But every now and then, someone finds a treasure disguised as ordinary. Perhaps it was a 1994 cent struck on a 10-cent planchet, resulting in a thinner, lighter, silvery coin. These wrong planchet errors are exceedingly rare and have fetched upwards of $6,000 in top condition. Even more elusive are transitional planchet errors, coins struck with a composition that should not exist for that year. While the 1994 cent was officially copper-plated zinc, there are rumors and isolated claims of experimental strikes using different alloys, particularly from testing done at the Mint in anticipation of potential policy changes. If such a coin ever surfaces and is verified, it could be worth hundreds of thousands, even millions. There are other misidentifications too. People see machine doubling and confuse it with a true double die. Machine doubling is flat, shelf-like, and common. A true double die has depth, a rounded appearance, and is struck into the die itself, not the result of machine vibration. Knowing the difference requires skill, study, and sometimes comparison with confirmed examples. But therein lies the thrill. The line between common and priceless is razor thin, and the only tool that separates ignorance from reward is knowledge. Now consider the hoard factor. Pennies are the most hoarded coins in the U.S. economy. Since they rarely get spent and are easy to store, hundreds of millions of them sit in jars, drawers, and boxes. The vast majority are unsearched, meaning that thousands of rare coins may be sitting undiscovered. Some believe that only about 10 to 15% of all 1994 cents have been thoroughly examined by trained numismatists. That means millions upon millions still exist out there, ungraded, unsearched, unchecked. It's quite literally a national treasure hunt waiting to happen, but storage is critical. A mint state coin can become a circulated coin in a matter of days if mishandled. Oils from the skin, environmental moisture, even cheap plastic flips can cause corrosion, toning, or spotting. To protect a 1994 penny with potential value, one must use archival-safe materials, acid-free holders, airtight capsules, humidity-controlled storage. It may seem excessive for a 1-cent coin, but not if that coin is worth thousands, and this is where the psychology of collectors enters. There is an undeniable emotional layer that drives the market: competition, pride, obsession, love of history. Owning the best-graded 1994 cent in existence is not just about resale value. It's about having a piece of perfection. It's about joining an elite group, becoming part of numismatic lore. Some collectors chase entire registry sets, every Lincoln cent from every year, in the highest grade possible. These collectors are the backbone of the high-end market, and they will pay top dollar for the rarest examples, because the prestige of completing a registry set is worth it to them. And then there's speculation. As digital assets ebb and flow with volatility, rare coins, especially certified ones, offer tangible security. They can be insured, stored in safety deposit boxes, passed down generations, and cashed in when needed. More and more collectors are also investors now, seeking long-term appreciation, hedging against inflation, and diversifying their portfolios. For them, a 1994 penny in MS-68 red isn't just a coin, it's an asset class. Let's not forget the influence of social media and technology. In recent years, platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have exploded with coin content, some accurate, some exaggerated. Videos claiming that a certain 1994 penny sold for $432 million have circulated widely. While these numbers are fictional and wildly inflated, they serve a purpose: they ignite curiosity. Viewers who never cared about coins before suddenly start checking their change. Some will be disappointed. Others will learn. And a few, just a few, might find something real. And let's entertain the hypothetical for a moment. What if a previously unknown 1994 penny surfaced, struck in gold, as part of a secret test run never released to the public? Stranger things have happened in U.S. coin history. What if a one-of-a-kind coin emerged from an old estate sale, struck in error on a blank meant for a commemorative series? Such an item would defy catalogs, bypass PCGS population reports, and shatter auction records. Is it likely? No. Is it impossible? Not at all. Numismatics is filled with mystery coins that only came to light decades later. Even now, there are private collections not yet inventoried. Safe deposit boxes unopened since the 1980s or 90s. Inheritance cases where heirs don't realize what they've received. Estate lots sold at auction in bulk, dozens of rolls of cents, unopened, unsearched. Somewhere in all of that, the next legendary 1994 penny might be sitting, just waiting to be found. There is a poetic irony in all this, that a coin worth 1 cent, a denomination so low it's often thrown away or ignored, could someday pay for a house, a college education, a car, or more. That's the magic of coins. They democratize value. They transform the everyday into the extraordinary. And perhaps no coin illustrates that paradox better than the 1994 penny, mass-produced, underestimated, yet occasionally astonishing. So here's the question we all face: what's in your drawer? What's in your pocket? What's in that dusty old piggy bank you haven't opened in 20 years? Maybe nothing. But maybe everything. Because history isn't just something we read in books, it's something we carry, quite literally, in our pockets. So before you spend your next penny, take a closer look. Weigh it. Inspect it. Appreciate the history behind it. You never know what you might be holding. It might be worth a cent. Or it might be worth a fortune, and no matter what, this simple little coin, stamped in 1994, with Lincoln's quiet resolve on the obverse and a marble monument on the reverse, is a reminder that sometimes, the smallest things carry the biggest stories, and those stories are still being written. And still, after every detail has been examined under the glass, after each mint mark, weight variation, strike error, and die state has been accounted for, the 1994 penny remains something more than a copper-plated disc. It's a timestamp, an economic artifact, a psychological mirror. Its journey doesn't end with the grading slab, the registry, or the final hammer strike at auction. No, it continues, through generations, through market shifts, through evolving technology, and through the very concept of value itself. Let us now look at how the 1994 penny fits into a much larger puzzle, globally. While it's easy to view this coin strictly through an American lens, the truth is that U.S. coinage has long been a benchmark in the global numismatic market. Collectors from Canada, the UK, Germany, China, and beyond all engage with U.S. coin history, and some of them pay staggering premiums to obtain the rarest Lincoln cents, proofs, errors, and high-grade specimens. This is especially true in China, where the culture of collectible wealth increasingly includes foreign coin assets. A perfectly preserved 1994 cent in a PCGS or NGC slab, especially with a pedigree attached to a known collection, is not just a domestic curiosity, it becomes a global commodity. And consider the speculative nature of demand. While the U.S. Mint has been producing Lincoln cents for over a century, there's growing political and financial pressure to eliminate the penny altogether. Legislation has been proposed multiple times to discontinue production due to its negative cost-to-face value ratio. If and when that moment comes, and it may come within a decade, it will spark a tsunami of demand for earlier pennies, especially from the late 20th century, which are not yet seen as historical. The 1994 penny will transition, overnight, from current to legacy coinage. And when that happens, everything changes. Coins are reactive artifacts, they respond to world events. When the penny is retired, people will rush to preserve what they can. Hoarders will start dumping coins, while sharp collectors will cherry-pick the finest examples. Prices will spike, supply will be scrambled, and coins previously thought worthless will be sent for grading in droves. Some 1994 cents that have been sitting untouched in bank boxes or hoards for decades will suddenly be rediscovered, uncirculated, brilliant, and potentially valuable. But there's another, more complex layer: digital authentication and ownership. As we move further into the digital age, coins, like everything else, are becoming part of the blockchain conversation. Already, grading services have begun using QR codes, embedded NFC chips, and digital twin certificates to verify ownership. The 1994 penny, when slabbed and entered into a blockchain-authenticated ledger, becomes more than a coin. It becomes a digital asset with a verifiable history. It can be insured more precisely, traded instantly, and traced back through its ownership chain. This will fundamentally change the way rare coins are valued and sold. Some of the most forward-thinking collectors are now tokenizing their collections, offering fractional digital shares in ultra-rare specimens. Imagine a PR-70 Ultra Cameo 1994 S penny owned by 1,000 investors around the world, its value fluctuating in real time like stock. Or a famous double die 1994 cent linked to a decentralized collectible platform, its ownership transparent and immutable. These things sound futuristic, but they're already being developed, and they'll forever alter the numismatic landscape. Let's return for a moment to the idea of artificial scarcity. When billions of coins exist, how does rarity emerge? Through condition, of course, but also through time. As coins are spent, damaged, corroded, and discarded, the number of high-quality survivors shrinks. Every year, more 1994 cents are destroyed, melted, or rendered uncollectible through damage. What's left rises in relative rarity. A coin that once had 150,000 examples in MS-67 red may drop to just 60,000 over time as more coins get mishandled, misstored, or degraded. That is how artificial scarcity develops, not through manipulation, but through attrition. And then there's natural toning. Some 1994 pennies tone beautifully over time, developing rainbow hues, deep purples, soft blues, and golden edges. These naturally toned coins can bring huge premiums at auction if the toning is even, eye-catching, and doesn't obscure key features. Toning, when not caused by PVC damage or corrosion, is a sign of age, chemistry, and untouched surfaces. One collector's rainbow-toned MS-67 RD 1994 D sold for $1,150 because of its stunning color alone. Toning transforms common into unique. Now let's examine the long view, the 50-year and 100-year trajectory. As we move into the mid to late 21st century, collecting habits will evolve again. Children raised on digital currency will see physical coins as relics, exotic and nostalgic. Museums will showcase 1990s pocket change as part of lost analog economies. Coins like the 1994 cent, in perfect condition, will be rarer than ever, relics of an age when money had weight, texture, and smell. Young collectors of 2080 will seek out what their grandparents discarded. This retro-collecting wave will drive values up once again. Now picture a future auction, held in the metaverse, streaming in VR, where a 1994 penny, preserved for a century, with digital authentication, museum-grade storage, and pedigree to one of the great collectors of our time, goes on the block. Bidding opens at $250,000. Not because it's ancient. Not because it's gold. But because it is a perfect specimen of a civilization's currency, preserved at the edge of its obsolescence. Even now, coin museums and institutions are acquiring high-grade examples of late 20th century currency. The Smithsonian, the ANA, private banks, and tech billionaires building legacy collections, each wants to capture not just rare coins, but symbolic ones. The 1994 cent is one such symbol, of industrial-scale minting, of post-Cold War America, of transitional economics, and of quiet beauty in something overlooked. So we must ask again, what makes a coin valuable? Is it the metal? The rarity? The condition? The grade? The story? It's all of those, and something more. A valuable coin captures imagination. It connects the owner to a greater history. It transforms a simple object into a talisman of culture, politics, art, and memory. The 1994 penny, in its most basic form, is not worth much. But at its peak, in its rarest form, it's worth as much as someone is willing to dream. And that dream can be measured in thousands, or in millions. So when you next hold a 1994 penny, do not dismiss it. Inspect it. Hold it to the light. Turn it in your fingers. Wonder about its path. Did it come from a vending machine? A grocery store drawer? Or was it plucked from a mint set and placed carefully in a flip, protected from time? No one knows. But perhaps you will be the one to find the outlier. The unicorn. The single misstruck coin, or the flawless proof, or the unreported alloy. And if you do, it won't be a 1-cent piece anymore. It will be an artifact. And the story of the 1994 penny will continue, through your eyes, through your hands, and through your legacy, and that is the most powerful truth of all: coins don't just tell history. They carry it. And even now, after thousands of words and countless facts, charts, and auction records, the heart of the 1994 penny story does not live in theory, it lives in people. In the quiet obsessions of collectors who spend years chasing one more flawless piece. In the sudden joy of someone who finds a strange-looking cent in a couch cushion and learns it might be rare. In the vaults of institutions, yes, but more powerfully, in the hands of the ordinary. There's the story of Michael Sandoval, a retired machinist from El Paso, Texas. In 2012, he was organizing his late father's belongings when he found a small black case tucked in a toolbox. Inside were 2 pristine 1994 Lincoln cents in 2x2 flips, each labeled "Possible DDO." He had no idea what it meant. He brought the coins to a local coin show out of curiosity. A dealer, surprised by their condition, recommended sending them to PCGS. A few months later, one returned with the label, 1994 Double Die Obverse, FS 101, MS 66 RD. The other came back MS 65 RD. Michael had accidentally inherited one of the few verified examples of the 1994 DDO FS 101. He sold one for $3,900, kept the other, and started collecting actively. He has since become one of the top registry collectors for 1990s era cents. For Michael, one small discovery became a life-defining chapter. Or take Elaine Chow, a Canadian art dealer who began buying US proof sets in the 1990s simply because she liked their design. In 2017, she submitted a batch of 1994 proof cents for grading, only to be notified that one of them had achieved a PR 70 deep cameo grade. At the time, only a handful had ever received this level. The market went wild. She placed the coin at auction where it fetched $12,300 from a private East Coast investor. With the proceeds, she funded the first phase of her daughter's tuition at Oxford. A single penny. One coin. That's what changed the course of her family's next generation. Then there's the mythic legend of the 1994 gold-struck cent, unconfirmed, but often whispered in numismatic circles. A rumor persists that an experimental planchet made of gold alloy was mistakenly used to strike a 1994 cent at the San Francisco Mint. The tale emerged from a blurry photo sent anonymously to a Midwest coin magazine in 2005. The coin was never submitted for grading. Some believe it was destroyed. Others insist it was melted down or slipped into a private collection and forgotten. Whether real or fantasy, the story lives on because collectors want to believe that the rarest finds are still out there, waiting. That belief drives behavior. Look at the estate of Harold L. Emerson, a postal worker from Omaha who passed in 2016. His daughter, while clearing out his garage, found 7 shoeboxes full of tightly wrapped penny rolls. Most were dated between 1983 and 1997. She nearly gave them to the bank. A neighbor intervened, suggesting she contact a local coin group. The contents of those boxes? Nearly 15,000 uncirculated Lincoln cents, including over 800 1994 D examples and another 500 from Philadelphia. A handful were MS 67 RD. 3 even graded at MS 68. Altogether, the 1994s alone brought $4,100 at auction. What might have been deposited for $80 ended up helping pay for medical bills. These stories are real. And they happen every year. Collectors themselves often shape the value of a coin. Look at John P. Roberts, a Wall Street analyst turned full-time numismatist. He began assembling what is now known as the Roberts Collection of Transitional-Era Cents, focusing exclusively on 1982 to 1999 Lincoln cents. His mission: to secure the highest possible grade for every date and mintmark combo. He spent $420,000 over a decade building this set. He worked directly with NGC to reslab certain cents that displayed exceptional full strike or unusual color. His 1994 SPR 70 UC and 1994 DMS 69 RD remain unchallenged today in the NGC registry. And because of his research and outreach, he helped improve attribution standards for minor double dies across the 1990s. A single collector, elevating not just one coin, but the standard of an entire field. But this isn't just about rare finds. It's about memory. For many, a coin is a fragment of childhood, a link to a parent or grandparent, a symbol of time gone by. A collector named Lila Ramos shared a story online in 2020. She remembered sitting at the kitchen table as a girl in 1994, watching her father sort pennies under a yellow lamp, carefully checking each for date and mintmark. He gave her her first magnifying glass and said, "Look for the doubles. That's where the magic is." He passed years later, but she still keeps that same magnifying glass, and the first 1994 penny she ever found, worth just 1 cent. But for her, it's worth more than any auction house could pay. And then there's the darker side, the stories of fakes, of doctored coins, of artificially toned cents sold to the unsuspecting. The explosion of coin sales online has led to a rise in counterfeit coins and manipulated specimens. Some 1994 cents have been altered to appear as off-metal strikes or to imitate rare errors. This has forced the community to become more vigilant, and grading companies have had to improve their detection methods. A new generation of forensic coin experts is now emerging, using ultraviolet light, SEM imaging, XRF analysis, and even AI to determine if a coin is authentic or tampered. It's no longer just about what you see with the eye, it's about what's truly there beneath the surface, and that surface can hold more than metal, it can hold memory, story, legacy. Some collectors donate their prized specimens to universities, museums, or cultural archives, ensuring that their coins won't be sold, but studied. One donor gave his entire collection of late 20th century cents, including multiple 1994 errors, to the Smithsonian Numismatic Division in 2023, saying, "These coins may not change the world, but they show how the world changed." A powerful statement. Because coins are time-stamped truths. Every slight variation is proof that a machine hiccuped, or a human hand loaded the wrong planchet, or a die shifted ever so slightly. These aren't just minting flaws, they're geological tremors in the timeline of human order, and as more collectors digitize their archives, the public gains unprecedented access. Online databases now allow you to compare your 1994 cent with every known high-grade or error example submitted to PCGS or NGC. You can track auction history, population reports, and provenance trails with just a few clicks. The gap between amateur and professional is closing. What took experts decades to identify can now be recognized by a teenager with a loop and a Wi-Fi signal. The community has also grown. Forums, Facebook groups, Reddit pages, all filled with people sharing discoveries, asking questions, and debating tiny variations with deep passion. A post in 2024 from a 17-year-old in Oregon went viral after he found what appeared to be a 1994 cent with a rotated die error. The post was reshared across multiple collector platforms. A dealer offered $3,000. Another offered to fly him to Las Vegas to have it authenticated in person. The Internet, once considered a threat to numismatics, has become its greatest amplifier. So yes, the 1994 penny may never be worth $432 million, but its legacy can be. Because it connects stories, triggers wonder, and continues to evolve with every collector who touches it. It has been passed hand to hand, from the press operator at the Denver Mint who never gave it a second thought, to the bank teller who rolled it into change, to the parent who gave it to a child, to the collector who preserved it, to the historian who wrote about it, and now, maybe to you, watching this video, maybe holding your own 1994 cent in your hand right now, feeling its light. Wait and wondering, is this one special? And the answer is always yes, because the moment you wonder, truly wonder, you step into a world far bigger than that single coin. You step into history. Into art. Into the long echo of machines and men, of mistakes and miracles. And that's where magic begins. And still, the journey of the 1994 penny does not end. In truth, its story is only just beginning. Because while today it sits in drawers, collections, grading slabs, and forgotten rolls, tomorrow it may sit on the edge of an entirely new era in human history, an era where the very idea of physical money is called into question. An era of digital currency, biometric identification, cashless societies, and perhaps even stateless economies. And in that world, what happens to a 1-cent coin struck in 1994? It becomes memory. It becomes artifact. It becomes proof. Already, whispers are growing louder in economic circles. Discussions in Washington and beyond, about retiring the cent once and for all, are gaining traction. Every year the U.S. Mint loses millions producing them, and every year the question becomes more difficult to avoid. The moment Congress votes to stop minting the penny, something irreversible begins. A coin that was once part of every transaction becomes part of none. It ceases to circulate. It stops being money. And in doing so, it starts becoming something else entirely: cultural relic, national icon, collector cornerstone, and this is where the role of advanced technology comes into focus. Already, artificial intelligence is reshaping how numismatists search, grade, catalog, and appraise coins. Gone are the days when only experts in dusty auction houses held the keys to value. Now, with just a smartphone, a user can run an AI-powered app that scans a coin's surface, compares it against tens of thousands of high-resolution known examples, detects doubling, die cracks, weak strikes, improper planchet issues, and even toning patterns. In real time. With accuracy once reserved for specialists. In the near future, collectors won't even need to physically hold a coin to appraise it. Augmented reality overlays, eye-grading bots, and even deep learning neural nets trained on photographic data from past auctions will allow even a teenager to identify a mint error that once would have baffled a professional numismatist. And coins like the 1994 cent, so plentiful, yet full of subtle varieties, will become the test ground for these tools. But what does this mean for rarity? It means that coins which once slipped through the cracks will now be caught. Every minor doubled die, every slightly rotated reverse, every die clash, every partial collar, and every broad strike will now be seen, identified, labeled, and tracked. Population reports for even minor variants will expand. New subcategories will be born. And the few 1994 pennies that truly stand out, by condition, by error, by provenance, will rise to global prominence, and provenance itself is becoming more important than ever. A coin that once sold for $50, then again for $600, then again for $2,300, creates a trail, a narrative that collectors value just as much as the metal itself. And now, blockchain platforms are being developed to track these histories permanently. Your 1994 penny, once logged and authenticated, becomes part of a chain that no auction house, no seller, no estate executor can fake. The chain of ownership, digital and immutable, becomes part of the coin's very identity. This will change how we buy and sell coins. No more raw mystery lots. No more arguments over grade inflation. Every premium coin will have a record, from mint, to collector, to auction, to registry. It becomes more than an object. It becomes a story you can prove, but with this transparency comes something else, a new kind of market. We may see futures markets for specific coins. We may see index funds built around registry sets. We may see collectible-backed lending portfolios using rare 1994 cents as hard assets. This may sound like science fiction, but so did digital currency 20 years ago. Today, fractional shares of classic cars, vintage wines, and sports memorabilia are traded daily. Rare coins will follow. And when they do, coins like the 1994 cent, common in number, rare in condition, will be the gateway, but not all collectors are looking for economic return. Some are looking to preserve heritage. Increasingly, museums and cultural institutions are building archives of 20th century life, lunchboxes, cereal boxes, gas station signs, and yes, coins. Coins are among the most universally recognized relics of modern society. A 1994 penny tells curators not just about inflation and production methods, but about who we were, what we valued, what our everyday life looked like. As analog life disappears into screens, the need to preserve physical history grows. And so, the humble cent becomes a museum piece. Imagine the American Numismatic Association Museum in 2075. A 1994 Lincoln cent sits on velvet, backlit by gentle LEDs, next to a holographic display showing its strike die map, its mint documentation, its ownership trail, and the XRF scan of its metal purity. School children pass by, looking at something once considered trivial. They see what we use to touch every day. And it will seem unreal, but the 1994 penny doesn't just belong in museums. It belongs in hands. In homes. In hearts, because even in the most advanced future, the soul of collecting remains unchanged. That moment when you find something overlooked. That thrill when your coin is returned from grading with a high mark. That quiet joy when you hold history in your palm. It transcends metal, economy, or market, and for every multi-million-dollar transaction, there will still be people collecting for love. For memory. For connection, like the boy who one day inherits his grandfather's coin albums. Dusty. Yellowed. Each slot labeled in careful handwriting. He flips to the 1994 page. Finds 2 coins, bright and clean. The note beneath reads, "Saved from the first roll I ever opened with you." He doesn't care about the value. That coin will never be sold. That coin is priceless. Or the retired teacher who collects nothing but 1994 cents. She's filled dozens of folders, searching endlessly for that elusive MS-69. It's not about the money. It's about the chase. The quiet discipline of attention. The reward of patience. The comfort of ritual. These are the stories the coin carries, and in a world moving ever faster, ever more virtual, that physical link, small, round, metallic, imperfect, becomes sacred. So what of the year 2124, when the 1994 cent turns 130? What of 2194, when it turns 200? By then, the United States Mint may no longer exist. Cash may be extinct. But coins will still remain, floating through the world like time capsules, and the 1994 penny, if preserved, will be even rarer. For by then, few examples will have survived uncorroded. Fewer still in mint condition. Fewer still with stories, but those that do, they will be precious, and whoever holds them will know that they are holding not just a coin, but a century of change, of wonder, of value redefined, and they will hold it with awe, because that's what a coin can do. It can outlast us all. A coin is not just a thing. A coin is a decision. It is a moment, captured in metal. It is a human choice, pressed into permanence. It is weight, and texture, and memory, and time. The 1994 Lincoln cent, so common, so overlooked, is one such decision. A million choices led to its existence. A million more gave it meaning. It does not shimmer like silver. It does not gleam like gold. But in its quiet copper-colored face, it contains something neither silver nor gold ever could, the invisible that we pick up a penny off the street without thinking. We find it in a glove box, at the bottom of a bag, in the corner of a drawer. It's the most humble denomination, the least respected. But that's why it matters. Because it endures even when ignored. Because it teaches us to see value where others do not. And that is the very essence of collecting. Of living. Of being human. The 1994 cent is not rare by number. It is rare by attention. Out of billions minted, how many have been looked at, really looked at? How many have been studied, appreciated, remembered? You could pass one 1,000 times and never notice. But the moment you stop, everything changes. You start to wonder. Why is the "for" shaped like that? Is there doubling on the motto? How clean is the strike? Why does the copper hue look different from another one? You begin to see. You begin to care. That is awakening, and so a penny becomes a portal that opens doors to history. It brings you back to 1994, not just in economy, but in feeling. It was a year of change. The Cold War was truly over. The internet was emerging. America was redefining itself in a digital age. In that year, millions of Lincoln cents were struck, poured into circulation, scattered across the land. One of them may have ended up in a veteran's pocket. Another in a school lunch tray. One may have dropped behind a sofa and waited there, forgotten for decades, until discovered again. Not as currency, but as artifact, and what is an artifact if not a relic of meaning? Coins, especially cents, are ritual objects in disguise. We don't burn incense or chant to them, but we sort them, store them, study them, protect them. We give them purpose. We talk to each other about them. We feel something when we hold one, even if it's just nostalgia or curiosity or the need to remember someone long gone. Think of all the people who held a 1994 cent before you did. How many passed it from hand to hand? How many thoughts traveled with it? How many emotions? It has felt warmth, cold, sweat, friction. It has fallen, rolled, bounced, glinted in light. It has lived a life of its own. And now it finds its way to you. That's not coincidence. That's continuity, and in continuity, we find comfort. Because the world is fast. Time slips away. But coins remain. They are not like photographs that fade, or texts that vanish, or memories that dissolve. They last. They corrode, yes, they wear, but they persist. They are the bones of a civilization, scattered like clues for those who come after. What will they say when they find your 1994 cent 500 years from now? Will they know what it meant? Will they see that it wasn't about money, it was about meaning? Will they understand that people once carried hope in their pockets, shaped like a tiny disc with a president's face, or will they feel that for the first time when they hold it, because coins are more than things, they're transmitters. Carriers of emotion. Time travelers made of zinc and copper. They speak across centuries. Without language, they still tell stories. And that's why we collect them, not to own, but to listen. Every scratch on a 1994 penny is a whisper. Every shine is a laugh, a hand reaching into change. Every dent is a bump on a journey across cities, across lives. No two are ever truly the same, not in tone, nor wear, nor path. Each one is a biography disguised as a circle. We call it a cent. But it is worth so much more than $100. It is worth every second of your gaze. Every second you stop and hold it and wonder, and it changes you, because the more you notice, the more you begin to notice everything. You begin to wonder about the hands that struck the die. About the machines that whirred in a government mint. About the designer who engraved Lincoln's portrait. About Lincoln himself, his eyes, his sorrow, his ideals. You think about time. About death. About legacy, and all from a single cent. This is not fantasy. This is the hidden spiritual layer of collecting. We do not chase coins for their price. Not really. We chase them for what they awaken in us. For what they anchor. For what they give back when so much of life is spent giving out. To some, collecting coins is pointless. To others, it is prayer. A silent prayer that says, I was here. I saw this. I valued this. I cared, and so you keep your 1994 cent. Maybe you place it in a 2x2 flip. Maybe you photograph it. Maybe you label it with the exact time and date you found it. And in doing so, you anchor the moment. You make it real. You make it live forever. Is that not divine? We are all looking for permanence in a world made of change. For meaning in a world full of noise. A coin gives you both. A coin endures. A coin speaks, and the 1994 penny, so small, so humble, is one of the best at this. Because it doesn't pretend to be rare. It doesn't scream for attention. It just is. And that is its power. It reflects your attention back at you. So hold it, feel its weight, listen. You might hear a whisper from your childhood. You might feel the presence of someone long gone. You might remember a place, a year, a sound. You might see the truth, that even the smallest object can be infinite, and in that moment, the 1994 cent becomes not a coin. It becomes a mirror. A time machine. A soul in metal, and it is yours, not to spend, but to keep, because you are a keeper. Of stories. Of memory. Of wonder, and that is everything.